Okay, I'm here with Tony from Greybox, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about a game called Dreadnought that's made by a development company called Jaeger.
Yes.
Let's get all those wonderful names out there. Dreadnought's the name of the game. That's what you're going to be Google searching. And the rest of the stuff is just going to show up as logos on the screen. So I got a chance to play this game, and it's in a very pre-alpha stage, but it's, I like the interface. I don't care what you guys say. I like it.
Yeah.
We can't show it, but they're like, oh no, it's so terrible. I'm like, I like it. It's simple. It's elegant. Anyway, I'll stop talking about how awesome it is. It's not a like space flight sim such as you'd see with like Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous or any of your other like Star Fox kind of games. It's more like we get to do everything from the Millennium Falcon all the way up to the Super Star Destroyers kind of ships where we run around and blow stuff up.
Well, basically, a lot of the pop culture kind of sci-fi stuff, whether you're talking about Firefly or Battlestar Galactica, like Star Wars, Star Trek, like all these are like kind of ingrained in your head, and to a certain extent, like those are the templates that we started using when we wanted to offer up something that was going to have a little bit of everything, right? Like the heaviest of the heavies, like a big, epic kind of spaceships, but also something more agile, quick, fun, like the Millennium Falcon, where you expect it to be all over the place and smaller, stronger, but more compact.
It's not exactly the same kind of control setup as you'd see on, say, the X-Wing, where you've got like the flight stick and none of that. This is all, I wear a giant control console, hit these buttons to shift it around. It is a very, it is more like driving a tank in a lot of like your BF4 kind of games, where your mouse will control the turret, doesn't necessarily control where you're going, which I haven't played a game like that in ages, so it took me a little bit of getting used to. But I kind of like the way you've incorporated space and shift makes you move up and down right now, so that was kind of neat. But your vertical movement is not controlled by the mouse at all, and that confused me by a great deal. But it works.
So it's kind of a neat thing, which kind of necessitated us to really look at what do you need to kind of streamline this kind of experience where you have a couple different things that you're messing with, right? Like there's the elevation of the ship itself, moving the ship around, targeting and shooting. So like a lot of the first-person shooter things that you're kind of used to that make sense and are like immediately gratifying, like, yes, I shot that thing blew up, that is awesome. Plus, you also have things like abilities that you trigger off. So things like teleportation, big ballistic missiles, all sorts of stuff that allows you to kind of like respond to the situation in real time. And on top of that, we also had the whole like, if you have a giant spaceship, you're kind of expecting that you're going to be able to make that call to say, shift energy to weapons, shift them to shields or thrusters. So you also have like this kind of middle mouse wheel that allows you to like dynamically switch stuff up for that. So it kind of sounds like a lot, but honestly, like you already are able to do a lot of damage and have a lot of fun with just some of the basic like first, primary, secondary weapons. All the other stuff kind of layers on and adds more, and all of it's pretty kind of immediately gratifying. So everything feels big that you're doing. That's what we wanted to go for. The big feeling of like, what are those Star Wars battles? Big ships, little ships, all in one battle. How do we get it to be accessible and fun, but also deep? So in the same way that it's easy to execute one thing, but what about chaining, an ability to, holy crap, missiles are coming, I put up my shields, I rotate just right, and, counter them in the best way possible. We want to make sure that it's fun up front, but you have that ceiling of skill. And that's really what we're going for. And I think what we have is not quite one genre. So it's going to feel a little different, but I think as you were kind of playing, you were feeling out each of the different classes. Like, I don't know, what did you think about the different classes?
When I first played, I was playing with one of the big Dreadnought class ships. It was gigantic, so it was very slow, and I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And getting used to where the camera was not where my guns are firing, and having to turn and shoot. But there was kind of like a main cannon that does fire, and it has a relatively large firing arc. But then there's side firing, cannons that you just broadside something. Like if you're in a nautical battle, you just show up broadside and just fire them off. And as you're firing, they'll fire down the side of the ship, which took me about 4 times before I realized that's exactly what it was doing. Or I'd be like, oh, I've got the mouse pointed this way, and then my ship's actually going the opposite direction, so I'm looking backwards, and I'm like, oh wait, I gotta turn this around. And it was a little disorienting at first, but once you get into it, it's a big ship, and it does not move fast. It is very slow on the adjustment.
It's a big lumbering capital ship.
But it can take a lot of damage, which I didn't realize exactly how much damage I was taking until I had like a barrage of missiles blow the ship up. And I was like, oh no, that's terrible. And you're like, you should just turn your shields on. I'm like, oh, that makes a little bit more sense now, just a little bit now that I'm dead. But then I moved down to like the smallest ship, and it was more of a stealth-oriented ship where it's got like a cloaking device and afterburners, and that was kind of neat. So that was kind of I was a little more my speed at this point. Baby steps into this where where I could cloak the ship, fire an afterburner off, and move fast across the map, drop my cloak into place, maneuver around, and then unload all weapons while my thrusters are kicking back into gear. But that was the other thing is I did that once, and I didn't realize that it took a little bit more for my afterburners to kick in, so I didn't leave myself an escape route.
Right.
And I'm suddenly not cloaked in the middle of a giant ship, and it just uploaded all of those side cannons on me. I'm like, oh no, I'm dead.
It really, it does take a while to kind of get used to it, but the good thing about it is that the rounds are really fast, right?
They were very fast.
It was like 5 to 15 minutes, you get a ton of action, you get a ton of gameplay, and then you learn really quick. Like, I tried that, didn't work. I'm gonna do this, and you get to kind of go through that cycle really quickly. And one of the things that we found in playing, like, I know that you kind of experienced this in going from like a large ship to a small ship, is that like the large ships, like, you tend to have like more nautical combat makes sense there, right? So like you were saying, you have a broadside cannon, you have to position yourself in the right way. You're kind of a shark pulling around the battle, trying to pick people off from across the map. When you're playing as the Corvette, or kind of our version of the Scout, you're zipping in, going in, you're being very aggressive, but it's more aerial type combat, right? Like you have to actually like be in front of the guns that you're shooting in order to land a shot. And that was really cool. And I saw you making plays at the end there too, where you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that, then I'm gonna do this, and you're able to like stealth in, jump out in time right after launching some missiles. And if you're able to pick that up within a couple of minutes, like, it feels pretty good for us, because that's the kind of stuff that we want to make sure is like really accessible, fun to do. You try stuff, maybe it doesn't work, but you learn something from it, and then you take that forward. And overall, like, our game, is small sessions, really fun, has a high skill ceiling. You play again, you're going to get better, and you're going to try different stuff.
That's very true. So then the ultimate question, when do we expect to be able to play this outside of this magical little room?
So basically, we're just opened up invitations or like signups for closed beta about 2 days ago, so you guys can go to playdreadnought.com and sign up right then and then. We're planning on doing closed beta like roughly like early this coming year, but there's going to be some of that pool that we might grab for like earlier alpha, so definitely sign up. We've gotten the game up to a point where we feel really comfortable with kind of where it's at. We have 2 different modes, like deathmatch, which is just beat 'em up, kill everybody, whoever gets the most kills wins. And we also have team elimination, which is you go in with one ship, you die, you come back as a fighter, but it becomes a lot more strategic because you kind of have that one life as a real ship. And so we're trying to figure out what will people do in a kind of a free form, kind of battle, and then what will people do to kind of teamwork a little bit better? What are the strategies that people have there? And so we really are hoping to get as many folks in to give us the feedback, see what they like, what they don't like, what's happening. And because this is a game, that's going to be online, kind of ongoing, we want to make sure that the health of the game is there, and we're listening to our players early on before we really commit to this is it, that's it, done deal. And it's going to be an ongoing relationship that we really want to start building. So if you guys are interested at all, check us out, playdreadnought.com.
Playdreadnought.com. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah.
Guys, be sure to check out the Corsair coverage. They are unveiling a new Cherry MX Switch. It's silent. So be sure to check that out. Also, they've got some new RGB action going on here with the brand new version of the Strafe. They've got a new MMO gaming mouse called the Scimitar. And they also have some new RGB headsets. So check out the footage by clicking on the screen or see the link in the description, or else.